Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever struggled with self-worth, negativity, or addiction, then do we have the Don't Give Up on Me show for you. Today I'll be talking with Darryl Strawberry, best-selling author, baseball legend, 4-time world champion, double cancer survivor, and addiction survivor. And that's just what I want to talk with him about today, about finding love and kindness, overcoming inner demons, how to never quit, and how to turn your life around. That, plus we'll talk about Will G., Bill Goodstein, George Steinbrenner, Lloyd McClendon, Ron Dock, Rudy and Mike, an angel named Tracy, and what in the world Job has to do with anything. So welcome, gotcha. Welcome to the show, Darryl. Are you ready to shine? Oh, it's so great having you here.
I am ready to shine, brother. I am ready to shine. Let's shine it.
Woohoo! So before we do some major shining, we are going to go way back, if it's all right with you. We're going to kind of follow your arc for a little while here. Can you tell me how many kids were in your family growing up?
It was 5 of us, 5 children in my family. We were raised by my mom, and was no father around. It was really a complete broken situation, and unfortunately, and a lot of times that happens in so many homes. We try to really cover up and make our home look great on the outside, but on the inside, the whole house is on fire. So we dealt with that for a very long time.
Do you mind if I asked what happened with your father and with Ronnie and you before he was out of the picture?
Well, he was in the picture. When he was in the picture, he was never there really, because he was an alcoholic and he was very abusive. And when you grow up like that, I guess he grew up like that from his own father situation and seeing what happened when he was a kid. And he was the only child. And it was unfortunate that he was only child. And he didn't have any brothers and sisters and was able to interact with anybody. So I think that left an empty hole inside. I think it leaves an empty hole inside of people when you don't have the right life growing up, and mine was no different. I think the dysfunction and the brokenness of my home was real, and I had to deal with some real battles. It was real challenging. People always ask me, well, what did it really feel like? I was like, well, I was in deep fear and lonely inside as a kid, because you never knew what you was going to get when my dad came home.
And thank you. And the last time that he came home, as I understand, was a confrontation with you and your brothers.
Yeah, that was a confrontation. That was the final straw, there. We kind of drew the line there. We were young. Like my brother Mike was 15, Ron was 14, I was around 13. Came home, pulled out a shotgun, drunk once again, and, threatened to kill the whole family. And we kind of went into action there. And my mom got us out of the house. She was so sweet, just so loving. She just protected all of us, and she was little, so she was a tiny thing, and she made us get out because she knew that we were at a breaking point, and she knew that we were really close to doing something that probably would have been a tragedy in our life had we crossed over into that area of killing my father. It was a scary night.
I'm going to follow through with the story, but what's striking me here, and both you're talking about your father and how you're talking about him now, even with this, and how you're talking about your mom, how open-hearted you are now.
Yeah, well, it's a forgiving heart. You get to a place when you get healed inside yourself, because healing is so important. And I think a lot of times people never experience that. They still carry those burdens with them for the rest of their life, and they carry the pain and the hurt and the agony of what has happened to them for the rest of their life. And you don't have to carry that your entire life. You have to come to a place to be able to release that at some point in time for you to get well. And I think a lot of times, Michael, what people don't really understand, that forgiveness is not for the other person; it's for you, so that you can heal. The healing process starts when you go on and forgive someone what has happened to you, what has happened in your life, and if people can ever understand that, it's for you, because you're carrying that burden, you're carrying that issue. And they're probably going on about their business and not worried about, what you're thinking about it at that point.
Woohoo!
Yes.
So, if we go back to 7th grade, this wasn't one of the highlights for you in the educational system, was it?
No, 7th grade was really troubling for me. I was always, in trouble because I started smoking marijuana at an early age, about the age of 13, which a lot of young people start experiencing with drugs and stuff. And that's what it was for me. I call it the marijuana maintenance, what it was for me at that age to escape. So it left me scarred with a lot of issues, and learning how to deal and coping skills and a lot of different things because of the hurt that was there and the pain that was there.
And then you got into sports, and that helped for a while.
Yeah, sports it kind of relieved the pressure of me not worrying and thinking so much. I think a lot of kids find some kind of outlet with that will not make them think so hard on what's really wrong. Because there are some things that are always wrong with us, and we just don't know how to deal with them. So we find sports, but today, I think it's different. Kids find like computer games and stuff like that. We were more into like going outside playing sports and getting away and getting involved, playing in the dirt, baseball, or whatever it was, football or basketball, whatever it was, just to get away from the negative thoughts that have been spoken over my life.
Now, you had some cool coaches back then. Maybe you can tell us about how Coach Mosley affected your life.
Oh, Coach Mr. Mosley was incredible. He was a man. He would just like come get me, pull me out of the bed and make me go to practice, throw water on me to make me wake up because I didn't want to go. I had no motivation. And he saw something in me, because other people always see something in you that you can't see in yourself, which is great because it's always about people helping people. And Miss Mosley was one of those people that came into my life that was a father figure to me as a coach. And then he kind of took me down the road of playing baseball and showing me the fundamentals of how to play. I would have been able to become the Major League Baseball player I was if it wasn't for him teaching me the fundamentals of baseball.
Woo! And then
Yes.
There was another great coach who you actually, in a sense, went head to head with, but maybe even learned more from that experience, Coach Hurst.
Well, Coach Hurst, yeah, he was my high school coach, so it was a butting head there, because you think about it. Coach Hurst was white male, and he's working at an all black school, and
wow.
it was kind of like learning how to deal with a different culture, but he was a great coach. He was a great person. We were just so different, from who we were, growing up where we grew up in the African American neighborhoods and stuff. And, he grew up on the other side, but he came all the way over to Crenshaw High and he coached the baseball team. It was pretty cool. It was pretty amazing because we had a few white coaches in the school, but Coach Hurst was really one of the more popular. We really, everybody respected him, and they knew that he was going to be tough on you, and I had some tough times with him.
Yeah, I like that you and your brother Mike, he did so, I guess, in solidarity with you. You quit the team. I guess it was your junior year, maybe it was, and it was his senior year. I know that, so maybe it was a few years earlier.
It was my freshman year.
Freshman year, okay. And you came back. Coach Hurst didn't let you. You didn't come back on that year, but Coach Hurst let you back on the next year. Kind of set down the rules for you.
Well, he did. He set down the rules. Just about being, hustling all the time and not walking off the field and things that were important. Because see, you have to remember, I came from playing County MAC baseball before we went to high school. Me and Eric Davis and all of us, Chris Brown and. Everybody considered you as being a star already, and you go to high school and you think you're a star already, and it just doesn't work like that. And there's a lot of discipline that has to come into play. And Coach Hurst was a person that brought discipline, and I was grateful for that because I went back to play basketball my junior year in high school, and my basketball coaches were the same way. If you got in trouble at school, they're going to run you like crazy. You're going to run suicides all day, and it's just going to be some discipline that's going to take place. And that was pretty cool to be able to go through that process, because I think you have to go through that process when you come from a place and you believe that it's all about you and you can do it your way. And coaches come into your life and they train you to bring the discipline in your life, so they prepare you for life.
Mm-hmm. And it's interesting because it was, if I understand right, it was both all about you and you didn't feel you were worthy at the time.
Well, yeah, of course you don't feel worthy and you think it's all about you because you have this talent. So there's a lot of confusion going on there. Having the talent and and having the brokenness too at the same time. So you're really disturbed inside of yourself, and you want to learn, but you got to this place in your life where no one's going to ever control you again because of what happened in my household with my father and everything. So I just felt like another male figure just couldn't come in my life and control me and dominate me like that. I just couldn't let that happen again.
Makes sense. So you get end of high school year, you're drafted for the New York Mets. Were you considering college at the time?
I was. I had signed a letter of intent to go to Oklahoma State to play basketball and baseball, but I didn't realize how cold it really was in Oklahoma State because I was coming from Southern California. So I think I made the right decision to go on and play with the Mets.
Woohoo! So you end up, it's not as glorious. We think, at least a layman's perspective, is you sign a contract, it's on to golden glory, but instead it was on to Kingsport.
It was Kingsport, Tennessee, yeah, in the middle of nowhere. So it was like a culture shock to me, coming from Southern California, going to Kingsport, Tennessee. And I didn't know if I really wanted to do this. I kept calling my mom. She said, well, this is what you wanted to do. So you're going to have to deal with it, and you're going to have to make your way through it. And it was hard getting through that first year. It was hard getting through that second year. It was very difficult, very lonely being away from home and being away from family life and going on into a new life.
And how was, because you're playing for the minor league at this point, there's a ton of expectation on you. How are you able to handle the negativity and the negative press? Because just from reading in the book, you get an idea of all the eyes are on you, and the stuff that would probably put you in jail if you said it to the person next to you on the street corner, and instead it's coming at you left and right.
Yeah, it is. It's coming at you from all angles. And I just really realized that through that process that this was going to be very challenging. And was I really up for the challenge? But what really made me up for the challenge of dealing with all that is because of my skill set of playing sports. And I knew I was good enough to play. So I knew I was going to have to face some challenges. It's just part of it. It's no way. I just realized that there was no way of getting around it. And most guys that would come from where I come from, they would either kill somebody or they would either quit. And I didn't kill nobody, and I didn't quit. And that was the good part about it. You might have felt like that at times, yeah. But you kind of just battled your way through it. And I just learned to battle my way through it because I remember the coaches in my life before that, Coach Earl Brown, Coach Mr. Mosley, Coach Brooks Hurst. I remember what they taught me about the toughness of playing the game of baseball. So they taught me also that you're going to have to be extremely tough as a person and facing adversities because they're going to come. It's going to be a part of what you're going to go through and how you're going to deal with it, how you're going to overcome it when someone has something to say to you.
And what did Coach Dusan tell you?
Well, Coach Dusan, he was just so great. He was just like, don't pay no attention to him. He was like, this is going to be he really told me that this is going to be a part of your whole career. People are going to always be yelling at you. You're 6'6", you're an African American, you got major talent, but people are going to always doubt your ability. It's going to be up to you to stay focused and not look up in the sands and keep your cool and keep going about your business and doing what you need to do.
Woohoo! And then
yes.
Early on, you got some assistance from somebody who came back down and was able to help bring you up in a sense, Lloyd McClendon.
Lloyd McClendon, yeah, he was a dear friend. I love. You should call him Big Mac.
Big Mac.
He was a dear friend. He was someone that was in spring training with me, and we were supposed to break camp together and go together to Lynchburg, Virginia, and he didn't go because he had broke his hand in spring training, and he had to stay in the extended spring, and I had to go. And me and Gene and him, Lloyd was going to be my roommate, and then I ended up not having a different roommate, which was totally wrong because compared to Lloyd, he was more experienced. He's had experience being in college and stuff like that in life a little bit more, and he was supposed to be there to walk with me, but I had to wait. It was just trust me, it was a tough time waiting before he got there.
And then eventually, I guess about a year or two later, you get called up to the big leagues. But how are you feeling on the inside at that point?
Well, I was feeling good on the inside of making it to the major leagues because that was my whole dream.
Yeah.
Growing up as a kid, when I was watching the Dodgers, and I grew up a Pete Rose idol. Watching
Oh,
Pete
yeah.
Rose. Mr. Charlie Hustle. He was like the real baseball player because his uniform was always dirty. He was always diving into to bases and stuff like that. And I just thought that was really cool the way a guy like that played the game because he wasn't the most talented player, but he was the most aggressive player. And I thought that what's baseball was really all about, being able to watch that in Pete Rose. So, and I just knowing to myself that one day that's what I want to do. I want to get to the big leagues, and I ended up getting to the big leagues. So I felt good inside. I was always broken. I was inside, from the standpoint of life. But as a player, I felt good. I felt like I had climbed the ladder through the minor league system, and I started to develop and become a pretty good ball player, and built confidence in myself. And I knew I was ready to get to that next level.
When you got there, did you have some stumbles? Was it hard to make that transition initially?
Yeah, it was. It was hard to make that transition. You think about major league pitching from minor league pitching is a big step. You get to the big leagues, you're going to face some of the greatest. And I remember my call up facing Mario Soto, who was the Cincinnati Reds. He punched me out 3 times, my first 3 at bats. But I learned a lesson from that. I learned welcome to the big leagues, and
Hmm.
it took me a while to get going, but eventually I would get going that year after being called up.
So, and during that year, you had a hitting coach, Jim Fry, who used to tell you something special.
Jim Fry did. Jim Fry made it clear to me because I was supposed to be at the ballpark early one time, and he was waiting for me, and I didn't show up. And he said, "I'm not going to wait for you anymore." He says, "If you really want to become a great player,
Mhm.
I shouldn't have to tell you to be here early. You should be here early every day, ahead of time, ready to go. If I say 2 o'clock, you need to be here like 1:30, 1:15, being around the ballpark, be ready." And I learned a valuable lesson from that because I know I needed to be there, and I know I needed to learn. And he taught me a lot of great things. He taught me the ins and outs of how to play and how to hit and how to become a big league ball player. And from that point, I went on to win Rookie of the Year. Because of the fact that he encouraged me how successful I could be at this level.
Woohoo! And he was telling you, if I understand correctly, to stay focused.
Yes, well, of course, that's the most important thing: is staying focused. Because when you get to that place and that point in your life, Michael, there's going to be a lot of distractions. Anything in life that we all get to and we're trying to achieve, we're going to always find something to distract us if we take our eye off the ball. And that's the most important thing that he was trying to get me to focus on. He get me to focus on being a major league baseball player. Don't try to be a star in your rookie year. That will come in time. But just being a major league baseball player and learning how to show up and learning how to play the game the right way.
Awesome. And so from there, since we're talking about distractions on the not so awesome side of things, and I'm so sorry, your brother Ronnie, what was it like that summer after you came back?
Well, it was very hard to see that he had got addicted to crack cocaine, and he was seriously into drugs. And I just didn't understand it at that time. But I knew he was broken inside too, because me and Ronnie took the burden from the girls and Michael and the beatings from our father. And I knew he was um, dealing with some things that was on the inside, just like I was. He was affected. He was afflicted on the inside, and it left him wounded. And just without any direction, any sense of being, he was in that same place I was. I just happened to have baseball for outlet to take my pain. Ronnie didn't have anything, as far as playing baseball. He played a little bit, but he struggled, and he would. I mean, he would curse coaches out and take off his uniform and quit because he was hurting so much on the inside. And then you go back and see him that summer, and I couldn't believe who he was.
And then from there, Dwight Doc Gooden.
Doc Gooden was amazing. He was 19 years old when I first saw him in spring training, and he was just an incredible kid. Who future and his ceiling was so high with the expectations. Nobody really knew how good he really was going to be, but we knew he was going to be good. We didn't know he was going to be that great so soon. But it was so great to be able to be on the field with him and play behind him because you never got a ball. He was always striking everybody out. So
Very, very cool. So at that point, as things are starting to improve for you, as you're get better at the game, you're then introduced to greenies. What are those?
amphetamines, that's part of something that stimulates the mind. And when you're playing baseball, and it allows you to see the ball clear. And at the beginning, that's what it does. But as you get addicted to them, it's hard to get off of them, and it doesn't allow you to be that way anymore. Now it starts to have an effect. I think once I've learned about amphetamines and drugs and things, anything that alters your mind is going to change your mind, and it's going to take you away from who you really are. I wish I would have never got consumed with all that stuff at such a young age, and even playing baseball with the amphetamines and greenies.
So, and then that year, if I understand right, the Mets are pond scum.
Oh, that's the St. Louis Cardinal fans. They gave us that's the nickname that they gave us. Because I guess they said we were a bunch of bad boys. We were always doing something, always in some type of trouble. That was just our personality. I mean, you play in New York City, it's the personality of who you become. And, the Mets, we became the bad boys of the 80s. We didn't take no stuff. We'd be into a lot of fights and on the field and off the field, and a lot of things happened, and we became the bad boys. But we kind of liked it. We kind of really enjoyed people not liking us and hating us because it just made us play better.
So, and you had a phenomenal year, if I understand right. You have your first world championship, but at the same time, you're becoming a really serious addict.
Oh yeah, I mean, at a young age, at the age of 24, 25, already an alcoholic. In 1986, we won our first championship, and you could just see it swirling around. Our team, guys are struggling, and with the lifestyle and everything, and partying too much, and it was just it was part of the 80s. It wasn't just us. It was just New York City. It was just the way it was. I mean, and everybody believed that it was pretty cool to be like that. It wasn't, we felt like we wasn't harming anybody, but we didn't know that, it was going to take place that we would be harming ourselves. And somewhere down the line, you can only go for so long like that. And then all of a sudden it starts to catch up with you. And that's what happened to us.
Yeah. And I guess the Mets didn't have their best year in 1987.
No, 1987 we didn't. We thought we would come back and have a pretty good season, but by the way, we lost our whole pitching staff. Everybody got hurt, and it was just breaking down and everything. And it was unfortunate, that after that 86 year, we come back 87, and we wasn't the same team. And like I said, but we lost our pitching staff. You lose your pitching staff, you're not going to win. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you mentioned the 80s because it's making me think of movies like Wolf on Wall Street and this snort anything, sleep with anything, do anything lifestyle, but it's really rewiring your mind, isn't it? And not for the best.
Well, down the road, not for the best. It's going to be no good for you. You might be at that time. You might be at that time, and at that time, you're doing it, you think you're having fun, but eventually it will catch up to you. The party life will catch up to you. Your body will slow down. Of course, your mind's going to slow down, and we all go through that phase. I think when you're young, you think it's going to last forever, and nothing lasts forever, Michael. And I think we just have to really be able to talk about that. The importance that the life that we live in here is not going to last forever. And it comes to a point in time that is when do you stop, or when does it catch up with you? And it will catch up with you.
So, and on the catch up with you, you had inner demons that were in a sense chasing you down. I call it for myself because I didn't grow up in the hard lifestyle that you had physically. I got it verbally, and so I had what I called the screw up gene. No matter what I did, I could do no right. No matter what it is, I was still a failure or worthless inside. What was your mindset around that time?
Well, you make a good point there, Michael, because that's what happens to people. They get affected on the inside. It doesn't matter what we look like on the outside. We can fake it on the outside.
Mhm.
And they always say, well, fake it till you make it. You might not never make it. And I think that's for a long time. I tried to fake it because I was strong. I was athletic, and I presented myself as everything was okay. But the whole inside was toxic. It was broken because I never dealt with the healing part on the inside. And no matter if it's physical abuse or verbal abuse, it affects you. It has such an effect on your mind that you don't even like yourself. But you make everybody else believe that you like yourself and you care. But you can go back and see yourself and look at yourself in the mirror and you say, oh my God, I can't stand myself. I can't stand who I am. And it has that tremendous amount of effect on your life. And regardless if you're an athlete or non-athlete, whatever you are, when you're wounded on the inside from abuse is very real, and it affects you in such a way that you can't. Sometimes you can't even show up for life, and you don't know how to love because love has been missing in the part of where's the love, because I've been so abused, verbally abused or physically abused. Where's the love inside? Just show me how to love someone else. And I didn't even know how to love my wife and kids, Michael, because of the scars that I had left on the inside of me.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. And so you ended up going from the Mets, you went to the Dodgers. Your addiction, was it getting worse with the Dodgers before you ended up at the Betty Ford Clinic?
Yes, I mean, my addiction was just spinning out of control. I mean, it was just nonstop. It was going into the hard drugs, smoking crystal meth. Just everything. You go from one thing to the next thing. See, that's what people don't understand about addiction is so powerful. One, because what happens to an alcoholic too, the same thing. When one drink stops working, he goes to another drink, a different type, and then he needs another one because it eventually stop working. And that's what happens in addiction. It goes from one thing to the next thing. And before you know it, your whole life is spinning out of control. There I was, and, ending up, signing the biggest contract of my life. I should have been happy, but I was still broken on the inside. I never dealt with the wounds on the inside. And it left me paralyzed, kept me crippled, kept me in the same place, regardless of what I looked like on the outside. Mm-hmm. But if I never deal with the inside, I could never be well. And my struggles were real when I went to LA, and I got addicted to more things. And before you know it, I was addicted to crystal meth, and then I got into the crack cocaine. And before you know it just took off from there.
So, and it is a miracle you are actually still alive being addicted to those substances.
It is a miracle, and you're talking about a guy that has cancer twice, colon cancer twice, and lost my left kidney in my second surgery. And you're talking about a guy that ended up in a Florida State prison with a T-17169. And I share my life with people so they can understand that you could be a miracle too. There could be a transformation in your life too, regardless of what you've been through. When you sit down and look at me, and we talk about the things that I've been through, but when you also talk about the other side, there's another side that you can become an overcomer, and that's important too. I just don't want people to think, well, they can't get out. You can get out. You can get out of the pain. There's some real pain inside of yourself that keeps you there, and you can be a miracle just like me.
Woohoo! I want to talk about a few people who've been by your side as angels, and then dive into how you were able to turn things around. First angel, because I believe we all have angels by our side. It's just hard to see in the moment. Your brother Mike.
My brother Mike, yeah, he's a superhero. He was a fantastic guy. LAPD, went through a lot himself, but he was very strong. He was always there.
And your mom, Ruby.
Oh, my mom was the queen. She was the queen of the family. She raised 5 of us by herself, Michael, and that's incredible. When she was a little mom, not a big woman, but she raised 5 kids by herself, and she taught us principles. She taught us values. She left them with us before she passed away. She left those values with us. She's left those principles with us. I think that's why we all are overcomers today, just because of that woman. We didn't have anything else. We didn't have a father. We just had her. And she was there to give us the hugs. She was there to buy clothes for us. She was there to feed us. And she never left us with nothing. She always left us with something She worked hard to show us what hard work was all about, and to showed us how you can make it no matter what you go through.
If she was here by your side today, physically, what would she say to you?
Today, she would be very proud of me, and I know she would say, you finally woke up. You finally woke up and answered the call on your life to do the things that you've been created to do, not to play baseball, but to make a difference in someone else's life. Because that's who my mom was. My mom was always a giver of herself to other people. And when you learn that and you get that inside of you, you realize how important that really is in life.
Woohoo! And one more angel, George Steinbrenner.
Oh, George, he was an angel. He was the boss. He was someone that just tremendously cared about people. And when I see mean about people, I'm talking about people that go through, all kind of things. He didn't look at himself as being better than anyone because he owned the New York Yankees. He looked at people as they have struggles, they have demons, and he just felt like he was a person that was there to bring restoration in people's lives. And that's great. That's great to be able to be an owner of a team and really think like that. Because most people, Michael, don't even think like that about other people.
It's huge. It's everything. It's everything.
Yeah. Yes.
You ended up years later, like you said, you ended up in jail. At that point, it seems like really you'd given up. You said it wasn't the surrender that you're going to get to. This was, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah, I reached a place, in my life. Yeah, I just thought I stood in front of a judge and I told her I'd just rather be dead instead of living. Because of the addiction was killing me, and I was chronic, and I just couldn't come to grips and why I could never get to the other side, and other people were always getting to the other side. But why was it so challenging for me? Celebrities have such bigger challenges than most people, the average person, because everybody's watching them, and everybody's got an opinion of how screwed up you are. And it's unfortunate that they have to go through that because they're in the spotlight, and it puts so much pressure on them to come to a place of where I don't have to deny myself anymore, and I can say I have a problem and I can learn to deal with it like everybody else.
So thank you for sharing. And then you're in jail. How did things begin to change, or how in the world? I remember when I first tried to interject self-love in my house, in my life, I was standing in a bathroom in front of a mirror. And the best way I describe it is, when I said I love myself, I redecorated the bathroom, so to speak.
Yeah, that's the way you say you love yourself. You redecorate the bathroom, right? To make you feel good.
When redecorated, I shattered the mirror. I ripped the curtains down. I went ballistic because my subconscious was not willing to accept it. So I'm wondering how you began to put the programming in yourself.
Well, yeah, it's a process. It's a process that you have to go through. I think it takes time to deal with each part of who you are, because there's a lot of different parts in us, Michael. There's a lot of different personalities that come across from the things that have happened to us. Mm-hmm. So, and we have to learn. We have to learn to: are we gonna move forward? Are we gonna forgive and move on so I can be healed? Because healing comes from for you yourself forgiving others for what they have done to you. Because I didn't inflict myself with the beatings. My father did. He the one said I never amounted to nothing. So what I was doing there is I was holding my own self hostage for so long, from pointing the finger at him instead of just going ahead and forgive him, so I can get healed on the inside and be well, and so I can move forward as a person.
Woohoo! And when you do that, when you're forgiving others, you're taking back the power, because you're no longer putting yourself in the victim role.
Right. Exactly. You take the power right out of their hand, and I don't carry this halo over my head. I'm a victim anymore. And we get past that, and now I'm able to rise up. More than anything, we're able to grow up. Because I think once people that's been abused or went through trauma or addiction, what happens is they are left left there and they feel like they're all alone. And, they feel like nobody understands me. And it's not until I let go of those things, then I can get healed from those things. And I can realize that it wasn't my fault. Because a lot of times we blame ourselves. What's wrong with me? And really, nothing's wrong with us. All we have to do is rise up and get back and get back into life and start over again and, move forward with who we are.
You say that as if, not as if it was easy, but as if it's just, how did you manage to do it? Okay, you're in a jail cell, you're clean, you're sober, that's a miracle. But how were you able to find that peace or self-acceptance in there to be able to do the work?
Well, first thing I had to do, Michael, is I had to take responsibility for my own actions too. Okay, and that's very important for one to be able to be an overcomer. You have to take responsibility for the things that I have done too, and realizing that we all have fallen short, and not just looking at someone else's issues, but I had to look at my own issues. And once I realized that, I started dealing with my own issues. Then I didn't have to look at anybody else's issues, because now I'm starting to look at who we are as human beings. We all have faults. We all have things that we have to overcome. We all have things that we have to deal with. And when we learn that, then that's when the healing process starts on the inside of ourselves. And it allows us to start to do the work that we need to do, the necessary work that needs to be done for myself to get healed. Because I've hurt a lot of people too. You're thinking my father was hurting me, but I went on hurt a lot of people too in the middle of that process too. So there's a lot of guilt on each side. So I can't get rid of either guilt, because I got so much on his side. I got so much on my side. So there I find myself doing the work of healing and asking for forgiveness, for marriages and kids, people that I had affected too.
Was prayer part of the recovery at the time?
Yeah, prayer came in. That would come in later. It wasn't. I didn't learn that until later, until I met a wonderful woman, who came into my life. It's my wife, Tracy. Yeah. So it's always a gift when something comes into your life, Michael. And we all get one. That's the thing about it. We all, at some point in our life, there's going to be a gift. Someone's going to come into our life and speak into our life. You know what happens, Michael? It's just a matter of, are we listening? Are we truly listening to what they're trying to say to be able to help us move forward in what we need to move forward in?
So I guess we should ask, how did you meet her? Once you're out, how did you meet her?
Well, once I got out and I knew I was going through another divorce, and I knew life was going to be over, because I had been using, and I just knew I had to do something different. I knew I had to do something different. And me and Tracy met. We met in recovery. We met at a convention, which was really cool. And she had 1 year clean, but I had no time. I had 5 seconds clean, Michael. I just came back from using crack and smoked crack for 5 days and been on the binge. And she met me, and I just told her I was nothing nice. I said, "You do not want to involve yourself with me. I'm a mess." But that was an angel. That's the angel we talk about. The angel that comes along in our life, and God sends us that angel to help us, to guide us, and lead us down the right road.
And that angel is a strong woman.
That's strong, man. They say, but you know what, Michael? I think sometime a lot of people are intimidated by strong women, but I needed that, because before I had was the wives I had were great wives, but they would just allow me to do whatever I wanted to do. But when Tracy came into my life and me and her she started on this journey with me, and she didn't play, and when I was caught in addiction, she was bamming down doors and pulling me out of dope houses. I'm shooting dope, smoking crack, and she pulling me out and talking about, you need to grow up and you need to become a man. And that was strong. That's what I needed. I didn't need someone to say, "Well, just let him die out there." She was like, "Well, I said, "Well, why don't God just let me die out here?" She was like, "Well, you're just not that lucky."
Well, she could see you had work to do, and not just the inner work, but you had a purpose, work, in quotes, I'll call it, to do. She could see that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. You see, and somebody can see that inside of you, and that's important. That they can see the fact that they're because what happens, Michael? There's a gift in all of us that God has given us all a gift to do something, but He's never going to reverse the gift. It's always going to be there. It's just a matter of, are we going to do it? Are we going to step into it? Are we going to do it? Are we going to allow it to happen? Are we going to allow somebody else to help us get there where we need to get? Because we always need help for others to help us get there. Because that's what we do. We just like when we get it, like I sit here and I've got it. So all I want to do is my urgency is to go back and help somebody else.
Yeah. And that's not only a woohoo, but a thank you.
Yes, that's a big thank you. You know, that's a big thank you to the fact that others are hurting, and we don't want to leave anybody else out there left alone.
Mm-hmm. So how and when it was kind of a tumultuous time. You ended up back separated from her for at least 6 months. How and when did you surrender yourself to God, to a higher power?
Well, for me, I mean, because I went into the rooms of NA and AA, which is great, great programs and stuff like that at that time. But I just wasn't ready because I was a celebrity and everybody thought I was there to give autographs and take pictures all the time. And they didn't realize that I was very sick and I needed help. So that's when I went back, and Tracy and I went back to St. Louis, and I got into church and I got serious. I didn't get in the front of the church. We sat in the back of the church, and we got serious about our next steps in life, following God's plan, getting discipled, and then becoming a different person. And I just wanted to become a different person. Michael, I didn't want to play around with it no more. I didn't want to play around with the fact that, you know, the womanizing and all the stuff that I deal with. Because I mean, as long as I stayed in the room, I was going to always play with girls. I was going to be the same person. And I just needed a really, really, really change of heart on the inside where I can just really get clean. And Tracy showed me how to do that. I mean, she walked it and she lived it, and I wanted it, and I saw the way she was living it, and I figured this is the way I want to live life. And I entered into that, and it came for my life.
What was she teaching you to do?
Well, she was teaching me to take off the baseball uniform for number one.
Yeah.
Because see, we identify ourselves as the wrong person. That was over, and she was teaching me how to take responsibility of my life. Because when I started my life 15 years ago with her, well, I started earlier, like 17 years with her, but it took me a while. She got 17 years, and I'm on 14. But when I started with her, I was $3 million in debt and didn't have a driver's license. So she started teaching me about responsibility. You need to take care of this behavior. You need to clean up the wreckage, you know, that you have created of your past. And that was pretty that was pretty intense because it was messy. But you know what, Michael? I got into it and I did it. You know, and that's the work most people don't understand. You got to do the work. You got to get in there and you got to do it. Yes, messy and it's hard, but you got to get in there and you got to do the work.
What was giving you the strength to do the work?
Well, I think the strength comes from within inside of who we are as people. Yeah, we grew up, and you had the dysfunction and you saw had the abuse, and you understand all that. So that strengthens you, because you have went through that. It's not like if someone has never been through nothing, then they don't know how to act when the tornado's coming, because they've never been through one. They'll just sit while everybody else is starting to, make moves and start to do things. They'll say, well, a tornado's coming. Well, why should I move? Don't you know what a tornado is? What it's going to do? No, I'm not from here. I've never been through that. So, and that's just like people. If you've never been through nothing, you can never get up and rise up and get on the other side of doing things if you never face the real challenges of life.
And that has to do with our purpose, because you were starting to discover your purpose. And from your purpose, if you look back, correct me if I'm wrong, you can see that all of the challenges, even the darkest days, maybe we're here to help serve you, and to help serve you, to serve and help others.
Yes, because that's really the gift of it, and I think that's the gift of life for all of us, that we are able to get back and help and serve others. Once we get into the purpose of who we are, because we all have a purpose for being here, and when we fall into that place and get into that purpose, Now it's about serving others. It's about always going back and winning others to others' lives, telling other people's lives that your life matter, no matter what you've been through. Here's my story. This is what I've been through. I faced some serious challenges, but look, I've gotten up, and you can get up too from right where you're at. You're not a loser. You're not a mistake, and that's what we have to be. We have to be a light in darkness to encourage people.
So what would you tell somebody if somebody's listening to this and they're in the thick of things and that mind is just, yeah, Darryl can do it, but you're a blankety blank. What would you tell them?
Yeah, but first of all, I tell them go pick up the book and read it, because then you can understand my real struggle. You can understand the real brokenness of who I was. I'm sitting here victorious now because I've done the work and I let people help me. And I think it's about understanding that the gift comes from other people coming into your life to help you. And if we push the gift away, the gift will be removed. And so many people got to stop pushing the gift away. And a lot of people who are probably going to be listening to this, who have some issues to overcome, let others help you. It's okay. You don't have to pretend that you have it all together. I didn't have it all together. I was a Major League Baseball player, 8-time All-Star, 4-time World Series champ, did it all, millions of dollars privilege, but I didn't have it all together. And I let someone help me, and I got healed on the inside. So it's important for us to always understand that part of life is others can help you get to a place that you can't help yourself get to sometimes.
Woohoo! What would you say is your mission now?
My mission is to see people become overcomers just like I have. Whatever trauma, whatever abuse, whatever rejection, whatever has happened to you, you can become an overcomer. All you have to do is apply yourself to some real principles, some biblical principles in your life, and put them in your life and start following them and trust the process. What people need to understand, Michael, it's not an overnight miracle. It's a process. And I think people are looking for a quick fix, overnight miracle. This is a process. You got to start walking and learning to live a different way.
Woohoo! What is a key biblical, since you mentioned biblical principles, maybe you can walk us through a few of these. What would one key biblical principle be?
Well, I think one key biblical principle would be is trusting the process. And that means you can't quit because it doesn't work immediately. I think a lot of times people think, well, if I'm going to go follow God, then it should work immediately. Guess what, baby? You didn't get in this mess overnight. Guess what? You're not going to get out of it overnight. So it's going to be a process that you're going to have to walk through, and you're going to have to let things. And the key to a biblical change is you're going to have to change some places and some friends and people that you are running around with. You're going to have to get a different group of crowd of people who are walking the same walk from the biblical principles and talking the same walk and living it out. And so you got to trust that process, and you got to get into action. There's two parts of it. You got to trust it, then you got to get into action.
I like that. I call that the two-step dance. We had a guest on recently, Ben Hardy. He was talking about the willpower myth. He has a book that says willpower doesn't work. And he says the way for greatest change, and you're living this, is to change your environment. And your environment isn't just the city you go into. It isn't just the home that you go into, but it's also the people you have around you, even the way that you do things throughout the day, the pace that you do things throughout the day. All of it is our environment. And we need to strip that away to put in a new environment to make that great change.
Right. That is the key right there of a changed life. That's the action part that you have to get into. Because if you don't get into the action and it's just like you keep going to the same old thing, looking for a different result, it's not going to happen. So you got to get into action, and you got to get into a new environment. You got to get into a new conversation of who you are, not who others are or what you used to be. And you become that when you start walking that way.
Thank you. If your mind were to tripwire, speaking for myself, everything comes around in circles. So you think you've got something totally managed, and you're doing great, and then something comes back around, and then you move past it, and then it comes back around again in these cycles. if those thoughts were to come back to you, what I call the screw up gene, the you're not enough, your life doesn't matter, anything like that, what would you do?
Well, first I would just remove that thought from myself because of all I've been through and all that I had to overcome. And I know I became an overcomer by working on myself. So you constantly work on yourself, and regardless of what kind of thoughts come back to you, you continue to work. See, you're never out of the woods of working on yourself. You know,
Thank you.
that's a place that we all must all continue to do is always work on ourselves. Not look at anyone else, but I always look at Darryl Strawberry. Who are you? How do you make right decisions? Yes, you travel, you're all alone on your road. How do you make right decisions? Well, I keep myself humble. I walk in humility. I don't be prideful. I don't boast about my life. My life is not that important. What it is a gift that I can use to help somebody else get well.
Woohoo! Tell us, what does Job have to do with anything?
Job has a lot to do with anything because Job was a righteous man. You know, he's a man of faith. I don't know his sins because we all have them. We all fall, but I don't know. But I know one thing. He worshiped God and praised God and had faith with him, and he believed that the fact that if he kept his eyes on the prize of loving God and praying to God over his family, that God would protect him, even though he lost them, but he had great character and integrity. And even though he lost them, he went in the midst of a trial situation of losing his whole family. But God ended up blessing him because he was faithful. He didn't curse God, which his wife wanted him to do. And he was faithful. And he ended up getting a double portion back in favor because he stayed faithful.
Woohoo! So if I was to take off my coaching hat today, Darryl, and I'm going to put it on you, what one homework assignment would you give people today to help shift their lives?
Well, I think the most important assignment is I would give to people today would believe in yourself, no matter what your condition is, your circumstances are in life. Had I not believed in myself, I couldn't be who I am today. It's just like when I was playing baseball. There was a great belief in me as a baseball player when I stepped on the field that I was the best. And Michael, it has to be the same thing in life. You know, I had to shift that into a life thinking process of how highly I think of myself. Not arrogant, not conceited, but how highly I think of myself as what I have to offer to someone else. And I have nothing to offer to anyone else if I don't believe in myself. And we got to get back to people got to get back to believing in themselves. The gift that's inside of you, like I said, God's not going to reverse it. It's in there. And it's a matter of, are you going to believe it or are you going to let it come out? See, today I allow myself to let it come out of the real who I am, not a real baseball player, but a real man, and I think that's what's really important.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And you would say it is for each, the greatness is inside each and every one of us, no matter what we've done, no matter who we are, without exception.
And greatness is in everybody. It doesn't matter what you've done across the board. You just have to believe in that and you have to move forward in your heart. Your heart you have to have a change. God looks at the change of a heart. If you change your heart, now you have entered into the right place because you have changed your heart. It is the heart. It's not the head. Too many of us believe it's the head, Michael, but it's the heart.
Woohoo! What homework, not what homework assignment, Jessica, my wife, the producer, she always wants me to ask a question for their parents and their kids. What advice would you give parents today to help their kids? Because it is such a different generation.
Well, first of all, I would tell parents, you need to start sitting back at the dinner table, turn off the cell phones, turn off the television, and you need to start having family talks again because that's what it used to be. You sit at the table and you have family dinners, you have family talks. If you don't, your kids will be like they are. They will be isolated. Social media will keep their mind captivated, and they will not be able to have a conversation because they don't really understand real life having a conversation. And I tell parents all the time, and I go into all the schools quite a bit, and I tell parents all the time, I say, this is the important thing that you need to talk to your kids about. You need to talk to your kids about drugs today because drugs are killing kids across America. Opiates are real. Heroin addiction is real. It doesn't matter if you're black, white, purple, blue, rich, poor. It doesn't matter. If you don't educate them about it, somebody's going to give them some to try to make them feel better. And this is what happened, Michael. That's why we have such an epidemic today, because parents are not involved. They need to get more involved. It goes, well, use a computer. Well, computers got everything on there for those kids to get to all the wrong things and meet all the wrong people. We need to pay attention, and we need to have those family talks at the dinner table about real life and real situations.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. On that note, what personally brings you the greatest happiness, or what I call the woohoo factor?
Well, the greatest joy is being a man of faith, loving my wife and loving my kids in those order. Because my wife, first my faith, but my wife, and then my children come after that. And sometimes the kids think they come before the wife, but you don't come before the wife. That's why I married her, and that's why we're together. We're together to share life together and make it better for you. And that builds the core of a family foundation. And that's what we're here for in life, Michael, is to have a core of a family foundation and make it strong and make it work. And we live in a society that's instant gratification, fix me now, so selfish and so self-centered, and we've forgotten the real principles, and we need to get back to the principles so we can have families like they should be.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. On that note, where can people go to find out more and to find your book, Don't Give Up on Me?
You can go to findingyourway.com and your show.
Inspire
your
Nation.
Great show. Yeah, your great show, Inspire Nation, Michael. I thank you for having me on Inspire Nation. You can go to findingyourway.com, Inspire Nation, your show, because this has been a great show, and I really appreciate the time that you have given me to open up and share with your people.
You're most welcome. So it's findingyourway.com. And if you don't remember findingyourway.com, come on over to inspirenationshow.com and we'll get you over to findingyourway.com.
Okay, this inspirenation.com too. So if you can't find findingyourway.com, but they can find you, Michael. They can find the two of us, and we'll get the information over to them.
Awesome. Any last words of wisdom you want to share with people, Darryl, before we do a little prayer before we end here?
Well, I just like to share with people that the importance of who they are and the purpose of their life. And I just like a text of Romans 8:28. It says, and we know all things work together for the good of them who love the Lord, to those called according to his purpose. I just like to encourage people that everyone has a great purpose and a great plan for their life.
Woohoo! So, would you have a prayer you wouldn't mind leading us in?
Yes. Father, I just thank you for this time. I thank you for this time with Michael. I thank you for all that you're doing through him. Father, as you continue to use him mightily to speak to people, to speak to life, to bring joy and hope. Father, we're just here for your joy and your hope and your love that you have given us. Thank you for the grace that we don't deserve you have given us. And we just thank you for life. And we thank you for all that you do for us and give us the opportunity to wake up each day to be a better person. We love you, we honor you, praise you, and we give you glory. And we say thanks in Jesus Christ's name. Amen.
Darryl, I'm almost in tears. You everyone pick up the book. It is not, I promise you, not an easy read. But when you see how far you've come, Darryl, and it shares how far each of us is capable of coming, and you are I have no other way to describe it. It's a future, it's the title of a future book of mine, and you are living it. You are an open-hearted warrior. It is, you're beautiful, man. That's all. I'm without words.
Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it. You too, brother. I appreciate it. That's what we all have. We all have something to give back. And it's it's so much better to give than to receive. I think so many think, we should receive so many gifts, but it's so much better to be able to give back. Because I realize in this life that so many people are hurting and they didn't sign up for it, Michael. And because I didn't sign up for it either. I didn't sign up to be hurting either. And I know what that feels like. And, if we can give back some hope and show them that they can be overcomers and be redeemed, man, let's do it.
Amen. Thank you
Yes.
so much, Darryl. This has been phenomenal. Truly a grand slam.
Thanks. Thanks, Mike. I appreciate it, brother.
So for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, don't give up on me, and begin believing in yourself today and shine bright. Woohoo!
Yes, sir. Thanks, Mike.
Crack!
Yeah.
It's out of here.
It's gone, baby. Bye-bye. Bye-bye, baseball.
Thank you so much, Darryl. This has been phenomenal.
Well, thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me. Thanks for the time. I appreciate it.
Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed it, be sure to like below. Also, leave your comments. Have some real fun with it. Subscribe to our channel where you're going to get more great videos, more interviews coming up. And check out our website, inspirenationshow.com. That's where you'll find tips, blogs, information, videos you won't find anywhere else, and useful and helpful resources to really help you kickstart your life and to shine bright. Thanks so much again. Thank you for your support. Like, comment, subscribe. See the website. Thanks so much and have fun. Of course, shine bright. Woohoo!